Okay, guys, so we'll pick up from where we left off. So we were doing this test case. So this was a Postman collection set where all the requests were there. So these are also acting as our test cases. So first test case was get all users, where I'm hitting this URL endpoint and I'm trying to get this information. Once I'm receiving this, I need to validate this. So for validation purposes, I am checking these three values from here, and then I'm also checking whether the result is non-empty. So I'm not checking individual values here, but I will be checking for this specific test case that once I hit this endpoint, I'm getting a result which is non-empty. So what I can do is as simple as that. I created a test case, get request fetch all users, then given base URI authentication access token, which is this for me. For you, it will be different. You need to replace this. Then when get API of public API users dot then, and then from then part, my validation starts. My validation starts, and in assert that section, I am putting status code, which is 200. By the way, this status code is this, and then we have second code, which is this is I'm fetching from the JSON. So this JSON, this status code is different than this. And the way this API is designed, every time there is a response from the server, response from the API, the status code for it will always be 200, no matter even if it is a incorrect response. So for example, if I hit this is a negative test case. If I click a send, I'm still is getting 200. This indicates that server has responded, but it has responded in the JSON body, the body part of this HTTP, whose header status is 200. The status body of this has a code called as 404, which is saying this is invalid request, server request resource does not exist. So this is how this API is built. Is this how all API works? No, it depends. So there could be an API, or maybe a developer has developed in a way wherein if something is wrong, he would have said, or developer API would have responded with the status code as 404 itself. So not from here, the status code could have been 404. But in this specific API, the developer has not developed it or coded it this way. Every time server is responding, the status is always 200, okay, but in the code, in the body part of that HTTP packet, they are mentioning the code, if it's 200 or it's 401, 201, whatever it is. So I'm checking the status code is 200. So this status code validation is for this, okay, and this will, no matter what, for this API, no matter what test case I'll write, this always will be 200. This line will always be there. Now in the body part, which is this, the meta.success, meta.code, meta.message. I'm using my body, meta.success, meta.code, and meta.message. And here I'm calling the hemcrest matcher. Okay, this is the hemcrest matcher. So that, as I told earlier, rest assured is built or is using the hemcrest assertion library. It is inherently using it across it's all the validation methods. All the method which is inside then and assert that, they all are accept this matcher. The hemcrest calls it matchers basically, and that's how I've done it. I've imported here this library, and this is static import, so that I could directly use these methods here inside these rest assured method calls. So body equal to, so these three things I've checked. Now there's one more thing I should be checking, which is the result which is coming is not null, right? Something is not, which is empty. It should be returning something in the body. So what I'll do is I will put another body part. Then here I will write JSON. So JSON will be result, because I will be fetching this result. Once this is fetched, by the way, if you know, this is a JSON path. So to access the values, to access this value, I am using this as a JSON path. The result will give me this complete array of objects here. So what I need to check is, so basically I can check many things in this. I can check whether the array has a size greater than 0. That could be one of my check. Or I could also check that the whatever is I'm getting is not empty, right? This is also I can check. So what I can do is keep things simple. I will start with not. Okay, by the way, how would I know which method to use? I can copy this part just for temporary purpose. If you want to know what are the available matches inside this, you can do a dot, and then you can know what exactly is you would need for that specific assertion. So there are many, as I said, there are many greater than, smaller than, has items, has values. There are many assertions. So for example, in this case, what I need is that this result, this object, the result of this result tag is not empty. Okay, so arrays should not be empty. So I'm starting with not. So if you see, there's a not, and not accepts these values, and multiple loaded values, loaded methods here. And good thing is this is Java doc. So just as showed also has very good Java doc where it tells you the use case of this. So I want to check not, and inside that I will call another matcher. So all these are matches. Inside that matcher I can again call another matcher. So I can write not, and then let's say I want to check empty. So let's see what is syntax for empty. Empty. So I can write is not empty, or is not empty array, right? So I want to check whether the whatever is returned here is not an empty array. So what I'll do, not, and I will write inside this empty array, and that's it. So what it will do, it will say, it will check these things. So this is pretty easy to understand, but this one I'll try to explain this again. So when you say body result, it will fetch the whole set here. Now let's say there's a defect and there's nothing coming here. So this will be an empty array. So I'm checking here, not empty array. That means the content of this result tag here is not an empty array. So that's how basically you write assertions in rest assured. So these matches are not very easy to understand in the beginning. You might get some difficulty in identifying them, what to use, where to use, and how will you use it. But the more you write these assertions, the more varied scenarios you're going to automate. You're going to know what exactly needs to be called, and the way you look at, the way you know it is like this. So you call this directly org.mcast.matches, you do a dot, and you get to see all of them. So these are all the matches which the MCAST library has to write some validation code for it. Okay, cool. So next thing which I do is, once this test case, so this test case completed, here I am writing a print statement, print system.out.println response returned as response.toString. So I'm just printing the response here, nothing else. And this part, this extract.response is only, I'm only doing this because I wanted to print this. If let's say if I don't want to use it, then there will not be any response object, and I will have to remove this as well. So this particular test case will still be valid test case, and this will still pass or fail based on the what is the outcome of that response. But sometimes you need to log information as well. Right now, since we are using a very basic JUnit framework, so I'm writing system.out.println, but later when we start using testng or Cucumber, most probably, then we will be replacing these statements with actual statements which will kind of generate or log this information in the report. So for now, I'll roll it back. And that's why, so after body, I'm writing extract and response. So these two lines are responsible for bringing the response to saving the response object. All this information will be saved in the response object along with the validation. So validation will happen, but it will also store the information in the response object. Okay, so this is just one way of automating a test case, and this is the simplest, easiest, and very you can write the code in a very small brief form. Okay, by the way, I've also explained how can, if you want to break this, if you don't want to do this and you want to do in a certain different way, then also it's possible, but for that the number of lines will increase. So for example, if I explain it that as well, I wrote a test case. For example, this is how I'm breaking the steps. So first you will do a given part like this here, right? Then it will save it to request specification, the response part separately. So when or that dot get returns a response, then you will create another object of validate response, and then you will kind of do assertion on. So this is, so multiple lines are there, all different lines. But if you want to do this, you can do this way, or you can do the same thing in a single line like this. So that is the advantage of using rest assured. You can do this in different many ways, the way which you like to do. no restrictions there. Anyway, so I'll move on to the next test case. Next test case is about negative test case where I'm entering some invalid token. This was I think no, so this is the old one. I guess I wanted to work on this. I was working on this library, this class. So this test case one. Second test case about validate pagination. Again here the same thing. So this pagination part, this is the text case, if I click on send, I'm going to get current page is 5. By the way, if you notice that if you do send here, what it returns is the current page. So all the data, so total number of data is 2187 right now, and it is total page count is 10110, and right now what is being displayed or what is being sent is the content of the current page. So first page, you can understand it as a product. So once you go to Amazon website, you search for something, what you get a list, but that's not the complete list. All you see in the first glimpse and first view is the, let's say 20 test cases, top 20 products. So those 20 products is what it is returning here, assume that. And if you want to get the next line of products, you can say, I want to get the products of page number 3, and click on send. It will give you the result of page number 3. And that is how also pagination works. So this is also called as pagination mechanism. This is available everywhere where we have more than 100 items to be displayed in a single web page. So so a developer will actually divide those into multiple pages. So that you'll find it everywhere in Google, in Amazon, Flipkart, wherever we have many number of entries. So you'll find that. So you can understand it that way, what this pagination call is doing. So if I want to automate this, what I'll do is again then page 5 access token, assert that, all those things, and then in the current page section, which is this current page, I will check the whatever information I find. So for example here, for the query parameter I've sent 5, so I'm checking the 5. By the way, I have already explained this in the previous video, that if you want and if you require your endpoint to have a query parameter as well. So if you have something ending with, or you see a question mark appended in the URL endpoint, that means it's a query parameter. That means this is the value, this is the key, this is the value. So this you cannot directly, you can't directly put it here. For this you need to, in the given section, you need to put a column method called as query param, and then you need to mention the key here. So page 3 key value, page, and value as 5, and then the same thing I'm kind of validating here. So this test case is also completed. Here also I'm printing the same response. And by the way, again here as well, I should be checking whether the result which is being returned is not empty. So I will call this method again here, body.result not empty. So this is how I have done the second test case. By the way, I promise that I will be doing all the test cases for you guys. So let me do it. Now the third test case is get single user. So in the get single user, what I'll do is, let me copy test. This is my third test case. In the get part, I will say get single user, right? So I'll write get request single user, and here it's simple. So I will fetch any of the value, but in this case I will do something more. So I'll tell you what. So here what I'll do is given base URI query parameter I don't need, so I'll remove this. Authentication I would need. When dot get user, so I need to change this endpoint, which is now this 133, for example. 133, when I hit this, then assert that status code is, let me create a variable for it, string user ID. Right now I'm just putting it here like this, 133, and here I will user ID, I will do that, so that if I want to change something, I can change it directly from here. So get user ID, then assert that status code 200, because I would be checking this. Then meta success is true, code is 200, meta message is okay. Now rate limit 60, remaining 59 reset, I don't want to bother about it. Last thing I would do is whether the information which I asked for is it returning the same information? So unfortunately, I cannot validate whether this information is right, but I can do ask for the result.id is coming as 133 or not. That will be my validation for this test case. So I'll write result.id should be equal to 133. So I can write result.id is equal to 133, which is user ID, right? So I will just mention this part here as user ID. So whatever I am passing here will be sent here. And of course, I will again have to check whether it's not empty. So I will copy this and I'll keep it as it is. So I need to see results should not be coming as empty array. Now again, I'm printing the response. So same thing. Now third test case is completed. See how easy it is to automate this web service calls, API calls. It's, as I said, it's way easy than writing test cases for Selenium. Anyway, so now next test case is about negative test case. So I have tested two things: positive, this was also positive. I'll talk about negative test cases. Negative test case is all about you trying to break the system. Like some information is what you're trying to, some incorrect information is you are sending to the API, and you expect API to respond in a right way. So in short, you are doing something wrong, but you expect your API or the software to respond in a right way. For example, I am writing some incorrect user ID here and asking for the detail of that user ID. And I am expecting whether once the API is received this, API should search for it and say, I'm not able to find this. And that is what API did, right? This is what I should be validating. So if you are entering some wrong information here, you need to validate this as well. This is your negative test case. If I go and create this negative test case for you, so I'll write public void t04 get negative. I will write incorrect user. Okay, so I should get the test annotation here at the test. I should write maybe same piece of thing, same piece of stuff. I will go and write here as well. And what else? So I will write message success false, code 404 message the request source does not exist. So I need to check success is false, then code is 404, and then the request source does not exist. I should be validating this as well. Then current page stuff, I don't need it, so I will remove it from here. By the way, I think here also I did not need this, so I will remove this from here. So that is that. Then what else? So these three things are checked. Now we'll come on to the result part, right? So we need to validate this as well. So result dot name. So I'll write result. So I don't need this for now. I'll write result dot name coming as not found. This is coming as not found. Wait, oops, 1 minute. Not found, and message is coming as this, and code is coming as 0. So I'll check. Result.name, result.message, then result.code, then result.status, result.status. This is 404. This is an integer, 404. Code is 0. Then message is this, but this is what is coming from here. So I will again parameterize this. User ID is something rubbish. This is what I will kind of validate it. So I will remove this part and I will append this, so that it will be validated at runtime. User ID, right? So I'm validating all that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm validating 7 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm validating everything, whatever it is returning. So everything should be validated. Now this is how the 4 test cases will be, fourth test case will be completed. Now let's talk about this filtering part. Now this could be a little bit tricky. Let me try to explain this. Again, this is API functionality wherein they have asked us, the API has told us that if you want to get a filtered result, you can have it. So filtered result means what if I only want specific data out of that API. For example, I only need entities whose gender is female, right? You can understand it in this way. For example, you have an Amazon website. Let me open it again, amazon.in, and here I'm writing I want only mobile. So now the API, in the API call, this mobile is being passed. Okay, you see here something like this. So here again, as I said, this could be perceived as an API model. So you can say, okay, so this is query parameter, k is the maybe product value, and this is the value which I'm looking for, and some references as well, right? So this is how an API is being triggered at the Amazon server, and from there API came to know that the user, the client, which is the browser, requires the products pertains to mobile, and that is what it has returned. Right? In a similar fashion, I'm trying to do this here. So we have a full database of users. We have many kind of users, but we only need users whose gender is female, right? This is how I'm achieving this using this query parameter. So this is called as query parameter, and this is the API functionality. So current API which we are currently automating, this is what they have said, that if you want to filter the result, you want to filter result, then you can pass the query parameter. You can pass that information, the filter criteria, in the URL itself using query parameter. So it's not my doing. I'm not doing it just because I everything is built on the same pattern. I'm doing this because the developer of the API has told me that this is how it would return things. It has told me like this, that it will return, all the documentation is present here. It has told me that this is how it will, you can filter things out. Okay, so if I do a send, I'm going to see the result, which is here. And if you notice, I need to validate all these things, as well as I need to go towards finding that whatever is returned, all the gender are coming as female. Okay, so now this is what we need to automate. So if I do this using a conventional way of writing test case, I'll just go and copy it, and I will write here 5, and then I will say get negative, or maybe the test case name will be get users with query parameter. This is not negative test case, by the way. So get, and write positive, incorrect user, right? So I'll write here get positive, all users with gender as female. Okay, so here I don't need this user ID. Response weight will gain winner. Let me remove this. And here, as I said, because there are one parameter to be sent here, female, I need to, in the given part, maybe after base URI, I need to enter query param. I need to call the query parameter. I need to call this. So I need to enter this information here, that I would like this to be sent from here. So I'll write female, and once this is set, then I know don't need this. This would be a query parameter param will be appended here in front of this, and the full URL will be created by these steps. So this is what it will create. These steps actually of rest assured creates this URL, and it hits it. And once it does a get, the response will be received, and then you can do a then part on it and do some validation. So let's do that. We need a true here. We need a 200 here. We need okay, everything is working. So let me copy it from the top. So success code message validated, and then I need to validate whether the information which is returned here is all coming as gender as female. right? So what we can do here is to check this, I can write something like this. So by the way, I don't need this for now, so I'll remove these items immediately. So I need only to check whether whatever is written here is gender as female. So what I'll do is I'll write here result dot gender. Now, as I said, this could be a little bit tricky to understand, but I'll just try to explain. And if this is if you're not understanding this, then there's another way of doing it. I'll try to talk about both ways. So one is result dot gender. So what result dot gender, since this is an array, so when you do result dot gender, it will try to return the list of all the genders. It will return, it will fetch all the information from all the objects. So how many objects do we have here? Let me go and talk about it. We have first object as this till here, then second object till here. As I said, this result is an array of objects. So when you do result dot gender, it will actually return you an array list of these values, right? So if I go and do result dot gender, this is a JSON path. This JSON path will return me all the values, all these values in an array list. So basically, once I do this result dot gender, I will be getting a list of these values. So everything will be female, comma, female, comma, female, comma, female, something like that. I will show you that. I'll print it. I'll tell you. Now to validate the response, so this will return an array. So I need to validate it, what I'm expecting here. So what I'm expecting here is, so as I said, if you want to use the hem crest, what you do is you write it here at the bottom, and you get to know what is it which you would like to call. So I'll write here every item, right? So every item is used for, mostly for arrays. So create a matcher for iterables that only matches when a single pass over the examine iterables. So this is how they're telling how it works. So this is the assert that array. This is if this is an array, then you can check every item of this starts with BA, right? So this is the matcher which you can write here. Similarly, if I go ahead and write it, I can write dot every dot every item, and inside this I can write equal to, or equal to female, right? Something like this. So same thing I will write here. So I'll write every item equal to female is what I would put here. So now what I'm trying to do here is dot, I will remove this line for now. This will be a dot, sorry, not dot here. Sorry, this will not also be dot. I think I'm missing a bracket or something. So this is how you're going to do that result dot gender. So result dot gender will return you an array. So of that array, every item of that array should be equal to female is what I'm validating. So in the beginning I said this could be tricky to understand. If you're not getting this, then I'll tell you another way of doing it. So if you're not able to understand what is happening here, and you do need to validate whether all the genders are coming right, then what you can do is you can fetch it like this. So you can write here response dot JSON path. So in the JSON path you can simply write result. Okay, you can write result, or you can write result dot gender. So you can write here result dot gender, result dot gender. So this will actually do, what it will do is you will do write dot, sorry, I need to cast it. Sorry, my mistake. So this is not how it will be. So I'll write here dot JSON path dot as list. So I'll write here dot as, not as, let me find it out. Oh, sorry, this is wrong. Dot. Where is the method? Not as. So it will be get. It will be a get list, and the list I will write here result dot gender. So let me do one thing. Let me just run only this much. This out. I will run only this much to show you how this works. So okay, one minute, one mistake is there. So this is not toString. This is supposed to be strings. I think I made this mistake everywhere in all the methods. So let me correct it first. String, 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 string. That's it. Now, if I want to run this test case, it is fifth test case. Test case is this fifth one. Let me right click on run. So if you see what will get printed, so full response is printed, but before that, if you see this list, where this is coming from this. So response.json part.get list, this is what it's printing. So result.gender is returning me a list object, right? So list, this is an array list. So first element, second element, third element, and all this is being fetched from here. Okay. As I said, if you're not able to understand this part, which is how I am doing this, so then we can do it in an original traditional way by fetching the response into a list. So let me do that for you. List of string, right here, list gender, for example, and I will write this here. This will return me a list. String, if I want to cast it, how will I do that? Array list of string, can I do that? Am I making a mistake? Or rather, let me not do it for now. Let me keep it simple. Okay, so this will give me a list of string. Once I have it, I can iterate it. So I can write for int I. So this is the conventional way of writing the assertions. If I'm not able to understand it, I'm not able to do it this way, I can just fetch the information out of that response object in this manner. When I do a get list, I'll get a result.gender, and then I can iterate this till completely iterate this gender dot size I plus plus, and then for each item I can validate. So I can write list.gender dot get I dot equals dot equal, come on, equals, ignore case. If this is female, then I will say assert dot assert true, message validated, condition is true, else not validation, female is not present, in at least one object, or at least one entity, something like this. Okay, and I mark it as false. So what I'm trying to say is, this is the long way of writing assertion, this is a short way of writing assertion. So it's always better to learn how to write this so that you can avoid writing this. But that doesn't mean if you're not able to understand what this is, then you can write something like this. No one is stopping you to do that. This is not also bad code. You can do such things, but you see the difference. What you're doing here in 5 lines, 5-6 lines, you can easily do it in a single line. So it's always better to understand these matches, how to use them. But I have, for the purpose of explanation, I have explained both the things. One way of doing this is this. Second way of doing this is this. Now, what is the next test case? Next test case is, so here again, it's a similar test case. So in this case, I am doing two query parameters and I need to validate both. So it will be very similar to, by the way, let me remove this. It will be very similar to, and in this case, either you will do this or you will do this. There's no point of doing the same thing again. So either you will comment this out and use this, or you will not comment this one and you comment this one. Okay, for now I'm commenting this one and writing another way below is another way of doing the validation for this line. I will also copy this for line this for SS showed. Okay, now next is that dual thing, right? So next is I'm talking about this test case, this endpoint. And to do that, I will copy this and I will write here P06 get all users with gender as female and status as active. So here what I'll do, since I said there are two query parameters, gender, female, and status active, I'm going to call these two here. Gender as female, status as active. Right? So same thing I need to do here as well, because here result.gender, everything should be coming as female. Same should be true as, by the way, let me do that. Let me show it here what's happening. So gender as female, gender is coming as female and status is coming as active. So all the entities which we have inside this result array, all the gender should be female and status should be coming as active, right? So that is what I need to validate. We notice here as well, everywhere status is active, gender is female. So I will copy this and I'll write result.status, which is this, should come as active. That's it. So my 6 test cases also completed. So you see guys, I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 test cases and you saw how I have done it. Let me remove this line of code from here for now, or I'll keep it here. Okay, so I've done these 6 test cases. If I go and run all these 6, let's see whether they work. So I right click, run as JUnit test. Fourth is failed. Okay, why fourth is failed? Because meta.success does not match. Okay, let me fix the 4th test case and then I'll conclude for at least these get requests. So this is coming as meta.success is not correct. Okay, well, how come? Let me see. Incorrect user. If I go and do the incorrect user, this is incorrect user. The success is coming as false, right? So success does not match. Expected false, actual is blank. Okay, this could be a defect as well, perhaps. Let me see if I try to simulate the same thing here, what happens. Okay, so I think not found 404 HTML is what I'm getting here. Okay, so I think it doesn't, I should not be putting some weird alphabet here. Again, this could be another test case basically, but for now I'll keep it simple. So I'll just remove this. Now if I run the test case number 4, let's see what happens. It was expected set was 404 but was 200. Okay, so this is, as I said, this is 200. I should be putting 200 here. Right click, run again. Yeah, it's passed now. Okay guys, so this is how we do it. So we have done with these 6 test cases of get. I will recommend everyone to try it out on your own system and try not to copy it. I'm doing this because I don't want you guys to get stuck while doing it. So if you're stuck, you can have a look at it, but I would like you guys to write each and every line of this code on your own and don't copy paste. Next video I'm going to record for post. So I'm going to end this one here. And any question if you have, you can post on the comment section of this video. Thanks.